On September 11, 2019, I put my arm to the square and I swore allegiance to defend the Constitution against enemies foreign and domestic. I joined the United States Marine Corps Infantry. And as I did that, in my head, I thought maybe one day I would be sent to a far-off land to fight a war against an enemy that lived outside of our borders. But what I realized over my 6 years of service is that the most dangerous enemy to the Constitution does not reside outside of the American project, but it resides within, and that enemy is us. I'm Hayden Paul, and this is the Stick of Joseph. Now, before I go any further, I want to explain what this series is. Over the next several weeks, leading up to the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, I want to work through a book called An Enemy Hath Done This. This is by late prophet and president of the church, Ezra Taft Benson. This book is a compilation of writings, speeches, and sermons from President Benson. He served as the Secretary of Agriculture under President Eisenhower and later became the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was an American patriot and raised the voice of warning like no one I have seen before or after. This book is essentially one giant warning from a modern-day prophet about what is going to lead to the downfall of America. And what's fascinating is that the very first lesson he teaches is the same lesson I learned in the military. The greatest enemy is within. This first chapter we're going to review is titled, Americans Are Destroying America. One of the most powerful images in this chapter is Benson's analogy about a burning house and a rotting house. He says, and I quote, "It has been said that it takes something spectacular to get folks excited. Like a burning house, nobody notices one that is simply decaying." I think that's such a poignant image, because it really is easy to inspire people to action when destruction seems imminent. Look at things like Pearl Harbor. Look at 9/11. Those tragedies inspired people to action and inspired generations of Americans, particularly young men, to go and spill blood, both that of a foreign enemy and their own. Imminent danger creates immediate action. But if you were trying to destroy an institution, a strong institution, immediate destruction is probably not the way you would do it. You wouldn't burn the house down, you would let it rot. And you'd do everything that you could, and it would happen slowly. You would do it patiently, generation after generation. Whether this destruction of our nation comes from a foreign adversary, people within our own nation, or simply the adversary himself working through temptation and evil action, the point is the same. The destruction of America will happen slowly. And it has happened slowly. When Ezra Taft Benson was writing most of these talks in the 1960s and 70s, he was already saying that we must awake to our awful situation. He already believed the erosion had begun, and since then, much of what he saw beginning has reached maturity. One of the ways this destruction has happened is the destruction of the family. The family has been, and always will be, the institution that maintains moral and religious and ethical values. Throughout all of history, this is how it's been. It has not been the state. It hasn't been outside institutions. It hasn't even been churches that have done this. In the end, it is the family that preserves these things. And when the family begins to erode, society begins to erode with it. I mean, look at fatherlessness. Today, roughly 1 in 4 American children live without a father in the home, one of the highest rates in the developed world. Children raised without fathers are significantly more likely to experience poverty, incarceration, behavioral problems, educational struggles, and crime. We see the effects everywhere. We see it in crime. We see it in promiscuity. We see it in the overall lasciviousness within our society. The destruction of the family has completely eroded the moral and ethical fabric of America, and it hasn't happened overnight. Broken promises and broken families, generation after generation, have seeded a sandy foundation that American life is built on. This is why 30 years ago, the church said the following in the famous document, The Family, a Proclamation to the World. And they say, "We warn the individuals who violate covenants of chastity, who abuse spouse or offspring, or who fail to fulfill family responsibilities will one day stand accountable before God. Further, We warn that the disintegration of the family will bring upon individuals, communities, and nations the calamities foretold by ancient and modern prophets. We call upon responsible citizens and officers of government everywhere to promote those measures designed to maintain and strengthen the family as the fundamental unit of society. Benson then shares that the degradation of the moral fabric raises its ugly head in so many places in American life. He talks about politics without principle, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without effort, wealth without work, business without morality, science without humanity, and worship without sacrifice. And honestly, this list that he puts forth in his book feels less like a warning from decades ago and more like a description of modern life. It's not just moral decay, though, that weakens a country. He also points out that we must be vigilant in regard to opportunistic legislators who want to amass power in times of chaos and fear. Benson quotes Alexander Hamilton when he says, "Nothing is more common than for free people in times of heat and violence to gratify momentary passions by letting into government principles and precedents which afterwards prove fatal to themselves." A perfect example is what happened after 9/11. 9/11 was such a terrible thing. It woke many Americans up. It galvanized people to action. But some of that action was not good, because not only did it fire Americans up to be unified, it also filled Americans with fear. And that fear produced legislation like the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act dramatically expanded government surveillance powers. It allowed broader collection of phone records, electronic communications, financial records, and other information in the name of national security. Now, regardless of where you stand politically, Hamilton's warning is still relevant here. Sometimes in moments of fear, we surrender freedoms that are very, very difficult to get back again and may not be able to get back without violence. And that is something we need to be very careful with. Sometimes we will establish precedents that will eventually become permanent. Today, we face similar temptations. We have fears about terrorism. We have fears about violence. We want to keep our children safe in their schools. And so, because of those fears, we are increasingly willing to embrace mass surveillance. We are increasingly willing to sacrifice privacy for safety. Elder Gong's going to be addressing a lot of this on Sunday, which I'm super excited for. We don't know exactly what he's going to be talking about, but he'll be talking about AI and mass surveillance and the implications of that. But one thing you have to remember is you do not have freedom unless you have privacy. If the government knows exactly what you're doing and exactly what you're saying all the time, then you're not actually a free person. So, what is the antidote of fear that would lead eventually to even more mass surveillance and less freedom? Well, the antidote is courage. Elder Benson shares a poem from John Greenleaf Whittier, which I am trying to memorize now. It is amazing, and I recommend everyone try to memorize this. And it goes like this. "Where's the manly spirit of the true-hearted and the unshackled gone? Sons of old freemen, do we but inherit their names alone? Is the old pilgrim spirit quenched within us? Stoops the strong manhood of our souls so low that mammon's lure or party's wile can win us to silence now? Now when our land to ruin's brink is verging, in God's name let us speak while there is time. Now when the padlocks for our lips are forging, silence is a crime." What a crazy image right there. That padlock is being forged. Not after freedom is lost, before freedom is lost. Soon our lips may be locked forever. When there is no privacy, you will censor yourself. People don't need to be forced into silence. They simply need to know that they are always, constantly being watched. This government-provided safety will not only rot away our freedoms, but our very souls. To this idea, Benson includes another quote from Dean Alfange, I think that's how you say it. "I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. I seek opportunity to develop whatever talents God gave me, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and doled by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for a dole. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed of existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any earthly master, nor bend to any threat. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to think and act myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, and to face the world boldly and say, this, with God's help, I have done. All this is what it means to be an American. Yes, freedom is dangerous. It always has been. But complete safety destroys freedom. A perfectly safe society is not a free society. And ultimately, I just want to reiterate that President Benson's message here, but just generally, is not primarily about communism. It's not primarily about foreign governments. It's not primarily about technology. It's about virtue. John Adams wrote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." Think about what John Adams is saying. The Constitution assumes virtue. The Constitution assumes self-restraint. The Constitution assumes morality. Without those things, freedom becomes impossible. As I reflect on my military service, I come back to the same conclusion that Ezra Taft Benson reached. The enemy is within. And that enemy is not necessarily a political party. It's not necessarily a political figure. It is the loss of virtue, the loss of morality, the loss of religion, the loss of self-government, the loss of strong families, the loss of courage. And you watching don't need to join the military and put your arm to the square and make that covenant in a military sense to defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. But you can commit yourself and make that oath with God on your own. I'm going to close with something from Benson in this chapter. And it's going to be a little bit of a reiteration of something that I talked earlier about the burning house and the rotting house. But it's so powerful. He says this: "Those of us conscious of the seriousness of the situation must act and act now. It has been said that it takes something spectacular to get folks excited, like a burning house. Nobody notices one that is simply decaying. But in America today, we not only have decaying, but burning before our very eyes." If those words are true, then our responsibility is clear. We must stand firm. We must stand strong. We must act now. And we must heed the warnings of this American prophet, Ezra Taft Benson. I'm excited for you guys to join along with me as we continue to go through An Enemy Hath Done This. I don't know exactly what the posting schedule of this is going to be. I'm going to try to write up these episodes and get them out. I hope we can make it through the whole book before. I might be combining chapters and things like that, getting through the whole book before America's 250th anniversary. But all I ask of you guys is to share this around with your fellow Americans. And hopefully we can start a movement within Latter-day Saints of looking towards this American prophet, Ezra Taft Benson, and reviving that spirit within all of us, that we can preserve the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. And I'm excited about that. So please share it around, and I hope you guys join me on every single episode of this. And just remember, until next time, stay curious and hungry.